My husband and I went to a couples retreat to fix our marriage. On the first day, we had to introduce ourselves. A woman stood up and said, "I'm here because my fiancé cheated on me." Curious, I asked, "Who's your fiancé?" She smiled bitterly and pointed at my husband. He froze. I laughed. Looks like this retreat just got interesting. What happened next had everyone speechless. My husband, Mark, and I had been married for 12 years. Over the past year, our relationship had become strained, constant arguments, silent treatments, and a growing emotional distance. In a bid to salvage our marriage, we decided to attend a couples retreat in Asheville, North Carolina. We hoped that dedicating time to focus on our relationship, away from daily distractions, would help us reconnect. The retreat was held at a well-known lodge nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains. The serene environment, with its panoramic mountain views and crisp air, seemed like the perfect setting for introspection and healing. Upon arrival, we were greeted by the facilitators, Dr. Lillian and Mr. James Carter, a married couple with years of experience in relationship counseling. They exuded warmth and understanding, immediately putting us at ease. The first session began in a spacious room with large windows that showcased the breathtaking mountain scenery. About 10 couples were seated in a circle, each pair appearing as apprehensive as we were. Dr. Lillian initiated the session with a gentle smile. "Welcome, everyone. We're here to embark on a journey of rediscovery and healing. Let's start by introducing ourselves and sharing briefly why we've come to this retreat." The introduction started. Couples spoke about various issues: communication breakdowns, trust issues, fading intimacy. When it was our turn, Mark cleared his throat, a nervous habit of his. "I'm Mark, and this is my wife, Anna. We've been married for 12 years and have been facing some challenges in our relationship recently." I nodded in agreement, feeling a mix of hope and anxiety about the days ahead. As the introductions continued, a woman across the room stood up. She appeared to be in her early 30s, with shoulder-length auburn hair and a poised demeanor. "Hello, I'm Olivia. I'm here because my fiancé cheated on me." A murmur rippled through the group. Infidelity was a heavy topic, and her candidness caught everyone's attention. Feeling a surge of empathy and curiosity, I leaned forward slightly. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said softly. "May I ask, who is your fiancé?" Olivia's eyes locked onto mine, a flicker of pain evident. She took a deep breath and then, with a bitter smile, raised her hand and pointed directly at Mark. Time seemed to freeze. The room fell into a stunned silence. I turned to look at Mark, whose face had turned ashen. His eyes were wide with shock, and he seemed paralyzed. A wave of emotions crashed over me: disbelief, anger, humiliation. But amidst the turmoil, a strange sense of clarity emerged. I let out a short, mirthless laugh. "Well," I said, my voice dripping with irony, "looks like this retreat just took an unexpected turn." Dr. Lillian and Mr. James exchanged concerned glances. The other couples shifted uncomfortably in their seats, clearly unsure of how to react. Mark opened his mouth as if to speak but then closed it, his gaze fixed on the floor. Dr. Lillian cleared her throat, attempting to regain control of the situation. "Perhaps we should take a short break," she suggested gently. Without a word, I stood up and walked out of the room, needing to escape the suffocating atmosphere. The cool mountain air hit my face as I stepped onto the lodge's veranda. I leaned against the wooden railing, trying to steady my breathing and process what had just unfolded. A few moments later, I heard the soft sound of footsteps approaching. Turning, I saw Olivia standing a few feet away, her expression a mix of remorse and determination. "Anna," she began hesitantly, "I had no idea he was married. I swear, I didn't know." I studied her face, searching for any sign of deceit but found none. "How did you find out?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. She sighed, wrapping her arms around herself as if to ward off a chill. "A mutual friend saw us together and recognized him. They told me everything. When I confronted Mark, he admitted it but claimed he was in the process of ending things with you." A bitter laugh escaped me. "That's news to me. We stood in silence for a moment, two women connected by the betrayal of the same man. "What are you going to do?" Olivia asked softly, her eyes filled with genuine concern. I took a deep breath, the mountain air filling my lungs. "I don't know yet. But I do know I deserve better than this." She nodded in agreement. "We both do." The sound of the retreat bell echoed, signaling the end of the break. I squared my shoulders, preparing myself to face the group, and Mark, once again. As we walked back inside, I couldn't help but think that this retreat would indeed be a turning point, just not in the way I had anticipated. I walked back into the retreat room, trying to keep my face blank, but I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Mark was sitting in the same spot, staring at the floor like it had answers. Olivia came in behind me and sat on the opposite side of the circle. No one said a word. Dr. Lillian cleared her throat. "Let's continue." But everyone knew things weren't going back to normal. For the rest of the session, I didn't hear a word. My brain kept playing back the moment Olivia pointed at Mark. Over and over. That night, we were assigned separate cabins. I was thankful. I needed space. But Mark showed up at mine, knocking like nothing happened. "I need to talk," he said through the door. I opened it, not to be polite, but because I wanted to hear the lies straight from him. He stepped in, eyes red. "Anna, I swear, it was a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen." I stared at him. "You didn't mean to sleep with another woman? Or didn't mean to get caught?" He ran a hand through his hair. I was confused. "We were in a bad place," I cut him off. "And cheating was your therapy?" He was quiet. "I loved you," I said. "I fought for us while you were playing fiancé with someone else." He looked like he was about to cry, but I didn't care. I opened the door again. "Get out." He didn't move. "Mark. Get out." He walked out, and I shut the door so hard the lamp shook. The next morning, we had another group session. Dr. Lillian tried to guide us through trust exercises. Everyone kept looking at me and Mark like we were a reality show. Even the older couple from Idaho who hadn't spoken more than 10 words since we got there leaned in. During a group circle, we were asked to share a moment when we felt completely disrespected in the relationship. My turn came. I looked at Mark. "Mine happened yesterday. I found out my husband of 12 years was engaged to another woman." Silence again. Mark shifted in his seat. "I don't think I've ever felt so disrespected," I continued. "Not even when we were fighting. Not when he stopped talking to me for days. Nothing compares to this." Then Olivia spoke up. "I didn't come here to hurt anyone. I came here to heal. But I need to say something, too." Everyone turned to her. "I was pregnant," she said. 2 months ago. Mark knew. I miscarried." I froze. The air was sucked out of the room. Mark's head dropped. I stood up. "You knew and didn't say anything? You were having a child with another woman while married to me?" No one dared to breathe. Mark mumbled, "I didn't know what to do. I thought if I kept it quiet, it would go away." My vision went blurry. Rage, betrayal, grief. All boiling in my chest. Olivia's voice shook. "I came here to find peace. But now I know he never told you." "I'm sorry, Anna. You deserve better." I left the room. The next few days were a fog. I skipped sessions. Ate alone. Walked in the woods just to feel something other than pain. Then, on the third night, someone knocked on my door again. But it wasn't Mark. It was James Carter, the co-facilitator. "May I come in?" I nodded. He sat across from me, hands folded. "I've worked these retreats for 15 years. I've seen all kinds of heartbreak. But this is cruel." I nodded, tears threatening to fall. "You don't have to decide anything here," he said gently. But you need to know you're not alone. You have more strength than you think. His words hit me hard. Not because they were new, but because they felt real, and not part of some session script. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. The next morning, something unexpected happened. During a communication exercise, a man named Ron, mid-50s, quiet guy from Chicago, stood up and looked right at Olivia. I need to say something, too. Olivia, I know this is weird. But I recognize you. We dated. 10 years ago. You ghosted me after a weekend trip to Charleston. Olivia blinked. Ron? Mark sat up straighter, confused. Ron kept talking. Yeah. I thought you were the one. Then you disappeared. No calls, nothing. You told me you didn't believe in long-distance relationships, but you were living with someone else. The room exploded in whispers. Olivia stood up. That's not true. I told you I had someone. You told me you were single, Ron said. I only found out later you were living with your ex. Now it was Olivia's turn to look pale. She turned to the group. Okay, maybe I wasn't perfect either. But I didn't deserve to be lied to by a married man. Dr. Lillian raised her hands. Let's pause. But it was too late. The retreat wasn't a healing place anymore. It was a battleground of secrets. Mark looked at Olivia. You told me I was the only one. She glared. You were. Until you weren't. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Two people who betrayed me were now turning on each other. And I was just watching. Numb. But also weirdly free. I still don't know how the rest of the retreat will go. I don't know what decisions I'll make when I get home. But I do know this, sometimes the worst betrayals bring out the truth in everyone around you. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. By the 5th day of the retreat, the entire mood had shifted. What started as a place for couples to heal now felt like a minefield. People stepped carefully, watching every word. Most couples avoided Mark and Olivia completely. I didn't blame them. We were now the center of a mess nobody signed up for. I kept to myself mostly, only attending sessions because I wanted to see how much worse it could get. And it got worse. During one of the partner-switching trust exercises, where we had to pair up with someone other than our spouse to do guided conversations, I ended up paired with Clara. She was a sharp, no-nonsense woman in her 40s from Atlanta who was there with her husband, Derek. We sat across from each other, knee to knee, and were told to take turns listening without interrupting. Tell your partner one secret you've never said out loud, Dr. Lillian instructed. Clara took a deep breath. You know what? I'll go first. Since apparently this retreat has turned into a therapy confession booth. She looked me straight in the eye. I slept with your husband. 3 months ago. Business conference in Charlotte. I didn't know he was married either. Until this week. Everything inside me went cold. I blinked. Are you serious? She nodded, stone-faced. I didn't recognize him until day 2. When he wore that gray flannel. I thought, that's the guy from the Sheraton bar. Then Olivia pointed him out and, well, I almost threw up. My stomach twisted. Why are you telling me this now? I asked, barely keeping my voice steady. Because I felt like a fool. I told my husband last night, she said, nodding toward Derek, who was sitting stiff as a board across the room. And I figured if I had to burn down my marriage with honesty, he should too. I sat back in my chair, dizzy. Mark hadn't cheated once. Or twice. There was a third. And who knew how many more? Later that evening, I confronted Mark. This time, I didn't cry. I was too numb for that. How many? I asked him in the lodge's hallway while others were at dinner. He avoided eye contact. What do you mean? How? Many. Women. He hesitated. I don't know. A few, it was never about them. It was about escaping. I almost laughed. Escaping what? Me? Our life? You think sleeping around is therapy? I didn't mean to hurt you, he said, like that changed anything. You didn't mean for this to happen. That's your go-to line. Silence. You didn't just cheat, I said. You lied. Repeatedly. You looked me in the eye and played the role of the loving husband while creating a trail of broken people. Olivia. Clara. Me. And probably others. His voice cracked. I'm sorry. I shook my head. No. You're not sorry. You're just sorry you got caught. Again. I walked away before he could say anything else. But the twist no one saw coming was what happened next. Clara's husband, Derek, left the retreat that night. Took their rental car and just vanished. We woke up to find out he'd packed his bags and checked out while Clara was asleep. No note. Nothing. Later, Clara confided in me while we sat outside drinking coffee. He told me last night that he hadn't been faithful either, she said. We were a mess pretending to be a couple. I think he just needed an excuse to leave for good. This place was cursed. Then came another bombshell. Olivia didn't show up to the final group session. Dr. Lillian looked concerned. She left early this morning, she said, reading a note. She said she needed space. No forwarding info. Mark looked like someone had kicked the air out of his lungs. His precious backup plan had walked out, and now he was stuck, alone, exposed, and finally feeling the weight of his decisions. After that, I didn't speak to him unless I had to. I kept my distance. But one night, I found a folder under my door. Inside were printed emails. Screenshots. Dates. Mark wasn't just cheating. He had been sending money. To someone named Sarah T. Hundreds of dollars every month. Sometimes labeled help, sometimes loan, once even baby. I stared at the papers. I didn't recognize the name, but something in me knew there was another woman. Maybe even a child. It felt like a punch to the chest. I took the folder to James Carter. He skimmed through it and looked at me, jaw tight. You need to take these home. Show a lawyer. This goes deeper than emotional betrayal. This is financial deceit. Maybe more. That's when I realized I wasn't just leaving a marriage. I was unraveling a hidden life. After I found the folder, those emails, the payments, the name Sarah T. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the cabin staring at the documents, my hands shaking. All this time, I thought I was uncovering one affair. Now it looked like I had only scratched the surface of something much uglier. The next morning, I didn't go to breakfast. I waited until the full group session, the one before everyone was supposed to say what they learned, what they were taking away from the retreat. When we all gathered in the circle one last time, I waited until everyone was quiet. Then I stood up, held up the folder, and said, I need everyone's attention. Mark's face went pale immediately. I found this last night. Emails between Mark and a woman named Sarah T. He's been sending her money for over a year. Some of the transfers were labeled baby. Gasps rippled through the group. James Carter stood up slowly, trying to assess whether to intervene. I kept going. It's not just Olivia. Not just Clara. There's more. I don't even know who Sarah T. is. Could be a stripper. Could be his other family. But I think we deserve to find out. Mark stood up. Anna, stop. No. You don't get to shut this down anymore. He looked at Dr. Lillian and James like maybe someone would step in. No one did. Olivia, who had apparently returned late the night before and had been quietly sitting in the back, stood too. Sarah T., she asked. I've seen that name. On his Venmo. He told me it was his cousin. Clara stood up too. He told me it was his sister. Silence again. Mark rubbed his face and muttered, God. I turned to him. Is she your kid's mother? He didn't answer. Mark. Say it. Finally, he whispered, yes. A wave of reactions hit the room. Someone muttered Jesus Christ. A couple looked at each other and shook their heads. Dr. Lillian closed her notebook. I stared at him. You've had a kid this whole time? While you were married to me? Mark didn't look at me. She wasn't supposed to get pregnant. It wasn't planned. Wow, Clara said quietly. You were planning a whole second life. Olivia looked broken. And you were going to marry me? James Carter stood up. We're ending the session now. No, I said. Let him answer. Let him stand in front of all these people and explain how he managed to screw up 5 lives in one retreat. Mark's face twisted. You all think I'm a monster. Fine. I was lost. I was drowning in our marriage. I didn't know how to talk to you, Anna. You stopped seeing me years ago. I stepped forward. No. I saw you. I begged you to talk to me. You didn't want help. You wanted escape. You wanted attention. You wanted to be loved without having to earn it. Mark's voice cracked. I didn't plan to hurt anyone. But you did, I said. Over and over. He sat down, defeated. He looked older than he had in years. The session ended in silence. No applause. No hugging goodbye. Just stunned, quiet people gathering their things. Olivia left first. She walked out without looking back. Clara followed, pulling her suitcase behind her. I stayed behind to help James and Dr. Lillian clean up. Neither said much, but James finally put a hand on my shoulder and said, You handled it better than most. I nodded, but I didn't feel strong. I felt hollow. That evening, before I left the lodge, Mark tried to stop me one last time in the parking lot. Please don't leave like this, he said. Like what? I said. With truth out in the open for once? He reached for my hand, and I stepped back. I'm not angry anymore, I said. Just done. He didn't fight me on it. He just stood there, watching me drive away. I filed for divorce. Turns out, Mark did have a daughter. She's 2 years old. Sarah T. is real. I never met her. Never planned to. Olivia sent me a long message a few weeks later. She apologized again and told me she's in therapy, trying to understand why she missed so many red flags. Clara and I still talk occasionally. We joke that the retreat was really a soap opera disguised as marriage counseling. As for me, I'm rebuilding. I go to therapy now. I started painting again. My apartment is small but peaceful. There are mornings when I cry out of nowhere, but they're happening less and less. Some people say betrayal hardens you. For me, it cracked me open. It forced me to see what I'd been avoiding, how much I was willing to overlook just to keep something familiar. The truth? I don't miss Mark. I miss the person I thought he was. But now, I finally understand, he never existed. I've stopped asking why me, and started asking, what's next? And honestly? That's the first question in a long time that feels like mine.